The night was supposed to be perfect. I had spent hours preparing, choosing the most elegant dress, styling my hair just right, and even practicing a casual smile in the mirror. This was a special occasion after all. My husband, Bob Cooper, had reserved a table at one of the city's finest restaurants for 7 p.m., and I was determined to make it unforgettable. But as fate would have it, perfection turned into chaos within seconds of stepping through those gilded doors. There it was, the table I had been dreaming about all week. Or rather, there they were, a group of strangers laughing and chatting as if they owned the place. My heart sank like a stone. "Excuse me," I said sharply, storming over with heels clicking against the marble floor. "What do you think you're doing? That's my table. My husband reserved it for tonight." Their laughter stopped abruptly, replaced by confused stares. Then one of them, a woman with fiery red hair, spoke up, her tone dripping with defiance. "I'm sorry, but your husband didn't reserve this table. Our friend's boyfriend did. His name is Bob Cooper, too." The room seemed to spin around me. Was this some kind of cruel joke? Two Bob Coopers? Impossible. They must be lying. Tension crackled in the air like electricity before a storm. I felt my cheeks flush with anger as I demanded proof. "If that's true, then where's your so-called Bob now? Why isn't he here?" The group exchanged uneasy glances, their confidence wavering. Just then, a waiter approached, holding a bottle of champagne and an envelope addressed simply to Bob Cooper. My stomach churned. Who was this gift meant for? Before I could stop them, the redhead grabbed the card and read it aloud. It was vague enough to match either version of Bob Cooper, leaving us no closer to the truth. The situation spiraled further out of control when accusations began flying back and forth. Each side refused to budge, each convinced the other was trying to sabotage their evening. Whispers from nearby diners only added fuel to the fire, turning what should have been a romantic dinner into a public spectacle. And somewhere amidst the shouting and glaring, I couldn't shake the sinking feeling that something far more sinister might be going on. The tension in the room was suffocating, like a storm cloud ready to burst. Both sides stood their ground, refusing to back down. I couldn't shake the feeling that they were lying. How could there possibly be another Bob Cooper? But their confidence unnerved me. "You're making this up," I snapped, my voice trembling with anger. "My husband would never do something like this." The redhead smirked, crossing her arms defiantly. "And you think we're just sitting here for fun? Our friend's boyfriend reserved this table too. Same name, same time. What are the odds?" Desperate for answers, I pulled out my phone and dialed Bob's number. It rang once, twice, then went straight to voicemail. My heart sank. Why wasn't he answering? Was he avoiding me? Or worse, was he involved in some elaborate scheme? The group exchanged smug glances as if they knew something I didn't. "See?" the redhead said mockingly. "Your Bob isn't even picking up." Maybe he realized what a mistake he made. Before I could respond, a waiter approached, carrying a bottle of champagne and an envelope. My pulse quickened. "Excuse me," he said politely, addressing no one in particular. "This was sent for Bob Cooper." Everyone froze. The group turned to look at me expectantly, waiting to see how I'd react. With shaking hands, I reached for the envelope, but the redhead snatched it first. "Oh no, sweetheart," she sneered. "Let's not play favorites." She tore it open and read aloud. Inside was a short, cryptic message. "To my love, may this evening remind you why I'm the luckiest person alive. Forever yours, B." The words were sweet, almost poetic, but unsigned. My stomach churned. Was this from Bob? Or was it from the other Bob? Neither side had any proof, and the ambiguity only fueled our suspicions. "That's it!" I exclaimed, my voice rising. "This is ridiculous. If your Bob Cooper exists, where is he? Why hasn't he shown up yet?" The group hesitated, exchanging uneasy glances. "We don't know," admitted a man with glasses, his earlier bravado fading. "He should have been here by now." Their uncertainty gave me a fleeting sense of satisfaction, but it didn't solve anything. Instead, it left us all trapped in a web of confusion and mistrust. As the minutes ticked by, the atmosphere grew more toxic. Accusations flew back and forth like arrows. "You're trying to ruin my marriage," I shouted, pointing accusingly at the redhead. "No, you're the one causing trouble," she shot back, her face flushed with indignation. Nearby diners began whispering among themselves, clearly entertained by the drama unfolding before them. Some even pulled out their phones to record the scene, adding to my humiliation. And then came the final twist. Another waiter appeared, holding yet another bottle of champagne. "For Bob Cooper," he announced cheerfully, oblivious to the chaos. This time, the delivery included a small card tucked under the ribbon. Everyone lunged for it simultaneously, each desperate to claim ownership of the mysterious gift. When the card was finally revealed, its contents only deepened the mystery. "Enjoy tonight, you deserve it, B." By now, both sides were convinced the other was orchestrating some bizarre prank. My mind raced with possibilities. Could Bob really be playing games with me? Or was this entire situation a cruel coincidence? Whatever the truth was, one thing was certain. Neither side was willing to give up without a fight. The tension in the room reached a boiling point, and I felt as though my world was crumbling around me. How could Bob do this? The champagne, the cryptic card, it all pointed to one horrifying conclusion. He was having an affair. My mind raced with images of him planning this secret rendezvous, laughing behind my back while I remained oblivious. "You think this is funny?" I hissed at the redhead, who now seemed like the embodiment of betrayal itself. "Do you have any idea how humiliating this is for me?" Her jaw tightened, her eyes narrowing into slits. "Humiliating? For you? We're not the ones making up wild stories here. Our friend's boyfriend wouldn't dare cheat on her. He's loyal, unlike whoever your husband must be." Her words stung like venom, striking at my deepest insecurities. Loyalty? Was she implying that Bob had been unfaithful before? Each accusation from their side only fueled my anger further, and soon the argument escalated into a shouting match. "You're lying!" I screamed, my voice cracking under the weight of emotion. "There's no way another Bob Cooper exists. This is some sick game you're playing to hurt me." The group exchanged smug looks, clearly enjoying my distress. One of them, a man with slicked back hair, leaned forward, his tone dripping with mockery. "If you're so confident, why hasn't your precious Bob shown up yet? Maybe he realized what a mistake he made." That comment hit me like a punch to the gut. Could it be true? Was Bob avoiding me because he regretted something? My knees wobbled, but I refused to let them see me weak. Instead, I doubled down, my voice rising even louder. "He'll come. And when he does, you'll regret ever crossing me." By now, the entire restaurant had turned into a spectacle. Diners whispered amongst themselves, some openly gawking, while others discreetly filmed the chaos on their phones. A waiter nervously approached, trying to mediate. "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Perhaps we can resolve this peacefully? His plea fell on deaf ears. No one was willing to back down, not me, not them, and certainly not the redhead, who seemed determined to prove her superiority. "Listen," she said, leaning closer, her voice low but laced with venom. "We don't need to fight over this. Just admit that your husband isn't the saint you think he is, and we can move on." Her condescending tone ignited a fire within me. How dare she judge my marriage? Who did she think she was? "Don't talk to me about my husband," I snapped, pointing a finger inches from her face. "You don't know anything about us." As the altercation grew more heated, the manager finally intervened, stepping between us with a forced smile. "Please, everyone, let's try to keep things civil. If you'd like, I can check the reservation records again." But even his suggestion couldn't quell the storm brewing between us. Both sides demanded proof, each convinced that justice lay in their favor. The situation spiraled further out of control when someone accidentally knocked over a glass of water, sending shards flying across the table. Gasps erupted from nearby diners, and the manager looked visibly panicked. "This is insane," I shouted, my hands trembling with rage. "You people are ruining everything." The redhead shot back, equally livid. "Oh, cry me a river. You started this mess by accusing us without evidence." And just like that, the fragile thread of civility snapped entirely. What began as a simple misunderstanding had devolved into outright hostility, leaving both parties entrenched in their positions, unwilling to budge an inch. The chaos at the restaurant had reached its peak, and Scarlett, still fuming from the earlier confrontation, was unwilling to let things go. "This isn't over," she muttered under her breath, her fiery red hair seeming to bristle with rage. Turning to her group, she lowered her voice but kept it sharp like a blade. "If that Bob Cooper thinks he can toy with someone's feelings and get away with it, then we need to teach him a lesson." Her words hung in the air, heavy with menace. "What kind of lesson are you talking about?" asked Dave, one of the men in the group, his brow furrowed in confusion. Scarlett smirked, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "Something permanent, something he'll never forget." She paused for dramatic effect before continuing. "We tattoo him right on his chest. Let's see how many women want to be with a guy who has cheater inked across his heart." The idea was met with a mix of shock and reluctant approval. "That's extreme," said another member hesitantly. "But maybe she's right. He deserves it if he really betrayed our friend." The group nodded in agreement, their anger outweighing any rational thought. They were determined to make this hypothetical Bob Cooper pay for what they believed was his betrayal. As fate would have it, just as they were finalizing their plan, a man walked into the restaurant. A tall figure dressed in a suit, exuding an air of confidence. To Scarlett and her group, blinded by fury and assumption, he looked exactly like the kind of person who could deceive someone so cruelly. "There he is," Scarlett hissed, pointing at him. "That's Bob Cooper. I'm sure of it." Without wasting a second, they sprang into action. While most diners were distracted by the ongoing commotion, Scarlett slipped something into the man's drink when he wasn't looking. A fast-acting sedative. Within minutes, the poor stranger began feeling dizzy and disoriented. Before anyone realized what was happening, he slumped unconscious onto the table. "Quick, grab him!" Scarlett whispered urgently, her voice trembling with both excitement and adrenaline. The group hastily dragged the limp body out through a side door, careful not to attract too much attention. It wasn't easy. The man was heavier than expected, and his limbs flailed awkwardly as they struggled to carry him. By the time they reached Dave's car parked nearby, Sweat dripped down their foreheads, and their hands shook from exertion. They drove to a secluded location, a dimly lit basement beneath Scarlett's house, which she claimed was perfect for private projects. As they laid the unconscious man on a makeshift cot, guilt flickered briefly in some of their eyes, but Scarlett quickly silenced any doubts. "He deserves this," she insisted, pacing back and forth. "Do you think he cared about how much pain he caused?" "No. So why should we care about him?" With trembling hands, Scarlett prepared her tattoo equipment, determined to leave a mark that would haunt the man forever. Or so she thought. Little did they know, the man lying helplessly before them wasn't Bob Cooper at all. He was a complete stranger, innocently walking into the wrong place at the wrong time. And as the needle hovered above his skin, none of them could foresee the consequences of their reckless actions. Just as Scarlett was about to press the needle into the stranger's chest, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed through the basement. I froze, my heart pounding like a drum in my ears. Who could it be? Had someone followed us here? My mind raced with paranoid thoughts. What if this man had friends who tracked him down? But instead of an angry mob, a familiar voice called out from upstairs. "Scarlett, are you home? It's me." It was Bob Cooper, or at least a Bob Cooper, the real one. He appeared at the bottom of the stairs, looking confused and slightly annoyed. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his eyes narrowing as they landed on the unconscious man tied to the cot. For a moment, no one spoke. The air was thick with disbelief and shock. Then slowly, realization dawned on all of us. "Wait," I stammered, pointing between the two men. You're not the same person?" Bob shook his head firmly. "No, I'm not whoever that is." Turning to me, he added, "And for the record, I've been waiting for you at the restaurant for hours. Why didn't you answer your phone?" My cheeks burned with shame. How could I have doubted him? All those accusations, all that anger, it had been misplaced. But before I could fully process my guilt, another wave of panic hit me. What about the poor man lying unconscious before us? If he wasn't Bob Cooper, then who was he? And what had we done? Scarlett looked pale, her earlier bravado crumbling under the weight of reality. "Oh my God," she whispered, covering her mouth with trembling hands. "We kidnapped the wrong guy." Her words hung heavily in the room, sinking into each of us like lead weights. This wasn't just a mix-up anymore. It was a disaster. As the stranger began to stir, groaning softly, I knelt beside him, guilt choking me. "Please wake up," I pleaded quietly, more to myself than to him. When his eyes finally fluttered open, confusion clouded his face. "Where am I?" he croaked, struggling against the ropes binding him. His fear only deepened our collective horror. We weren't just dealing with the coincidence. We were confronting the consequences of our reckless actions. The truth was undeniable. There had been no betrayal, no secret affair. Just two men named Bob Cooper making dinner reservations at the same restaurant on the same night. Yet the damage was done, and now we faced the daunting task of undoing it, all while hoping the innocent victim would forgive us. The realization of their catastrophic mistake sent everyone into a frenzy. Scarlett, who had been the mastermind behind the reckless plan, was now visibly shaken. "We need to fix this. Now!" she exclaimed, her voice trembling with panic. Without wasting another second, the group scrambled back to the basement where they had left the unfortunate stranger tied up like a prisoner. The journey felt endless, each mile amplifying their dread. What if he woke up before they arrived? What if he called the police? The thought alone made my stomach churn. When we finally reached the dimly lit basement, the man was already stirring, his eyes wide with terror as he struggled against the ropes. His breathing was erratic, and beads of sweat dotted his forehead. "Where am I?" he demanded, his voice hoarse but laced with fury. "Who are you people? Why am I here?" Each question hit us like a hammer, a painful reminder of how far we'd let our anger and assumptions take us. I stepped forward hesitantly, my hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Please, let me explain," I began, my voice cracking under the weight of guilt. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding. We thought you were someone else, someone named Bob Cooper." The man blinked, confusion mingling with his rage. "Bob Cooper? I don't even know who that is," Scarlett chimed in, her tone apologetic but still tinged with defensiveness. "Look, we're really sorry about all of this. It's just, there was a mix-up at the restaurant and we got carried away. But trust me, it wasn't personal." She gestured toward the tattoo equipment lying nearby. "And honestly, nothing permanent has been done yet." At her words, the man glanced down at his chest and froze. There, inked in bold black letters, was the word cheater, a temporary tattoo they had tested while waiting for him to regain consciousness. His face turned crimson with fury. "What the hell is this?" he roared, his voice echoing through the small room. "You think it's okay to kidnap me, tie me up, and then vandalize my body? Do you have any idea what kind of trauma you've caused?" His outburst silenced us all. For a moment, no one dared to speak. Then Dave, ever the peacemaker, stepped forward. "Sir, please, hear us out. None of this was supposed to happen. We acted impulsively, and we deeply regret it. If you give us a chance, we'll make things right." He gestured toward the supplies scattered around. "We can remove the tattoo and we'll compensate you for everything. You have our word." The man glared at us, his jaw clenched tightly. After what felt like an eternity, he sighed heavily, though his anger hadn't fully dissipated. "Fine," he muttered begrudgingly. "But if I see any of you again, I'm calling the cops." With that, he allowed Scarlett to clean off the temporary tattoo, though his piercing glare never left her face. As we untied him and helped him to his feet, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of relief and shame. How could we have let things spiral so out of control? This entire ordeal was a stark reminder of how dangerous assumptions could be, and how quickly revenge-seeking could turn into something far more destructive. The tension that had gripped us all finally began to loosen as the absurdity of the situation sank in. There we were, two groups of people who had spent hours accusing, plotting, and panicking over nothing more than a bizarre coincidence. "Can you believe this?" I said, shaking my head with a mix of disbelief and amusement. My husband Bob chuckled nervously, scratching the back of his neck. "Honestly, I still don't know what happened here, but I'm just glad it's over." Scarlett, who had been at the center of the chaos, let out an awkward laugh. "Well, I guess we're all idiots today," she admitted, her fiery red hair now slightly disheveled from the stress. "But hey, at least no one got seriously hurt, except maybe my dignity." She shot me a sheepish grin, and for the first time since meeting her, I found myself laughing along. It was impossible not to. The whole ordeal felt like something out of a sitcom. As the stranger finished packing up his things, he glanced at us one last time, though his expression was softer now. "Just try to be more careful next time," he said dryly, clearly eager to leave. We nodded profusely, offering him heartfelt apologies once again. Once he was gone, the room seemed lighter, as if the weight of our collective guilt had lifted. Bob turned to me, his eyes twinkling with mischief. So, does this mean I'm forgiven for being so crazy? He teased, echoing my earlier accusation. I rolled my eyes but couldn't suppress a smile. You're insane, I replied, jabbing him playfully in the ribs. But that's exactly why I love you. His laughter filled the room, warm and reassuring, melting away any lingering tension. Scarlett chimed in, her usual bravado returning. And let's not forget, I may have gone a little overboard with the kidnapping idea, but admit it, it was kind of genius. She winked dramatically, earning groans and chuckles from everyone else. Genius or disaster? Hard to tell with you, Dave joked, earning a playful shove from Scarlett. In the end, the evening ended on a surprisingly high note. Despite the chaos, there was something oddly comforting about how everything had unfolded. Life, it seemed, had a way of turning even the most ridiculous mistakes into moments of connection. And plenty of laughter. As we parted ways, Scarlett called out, "Let's never do this again. But also, let's definitely hang out sometime." Her comment summed up the night perfectly. Messy, chaotic, and utterly unforgettable. Some people leave scars, others leave lessons. Burn and reborn stories that break you, then rebuild you.